What's up, guys? Today, I'm going to be talking about why Chapter 3 was the absolute peak of Fortnite for many reasons. Obviously, you guys might not agree, okay? Because, to be honest, the entirety of Chapter 3 wasn't the best. I'd say it was 50% good, 50% poor. But I will say it was absolutely peak for many, many reasons. I'm going to list them all here today. Remember to like and subscribe. Use code LeoJS and become a member now for just $2. Let's get into it. Okay, so Chapter 3 is coming up on 4 years old this winter. That's crazy to think about. We're going to be in Chapter 7. That's unbelievable. The game has changed so much since Chapter 3, and to be honest, it hasn't changed that well. I think ever since Chapter 4 rolled around towards Season 3, so like the halfway mark, the game just started to go downhill slowly, and we're kind of seeing that nowadays. But I'm here to talk about why Chapter 3 was absolutely peak Fortnite. Starting off with one main reason, the map. The map was absolutely perfect. You have a mix of old POIs and new ones, and then throw in some storyline related POIs as well, and it is literally the perfect blend for a Fortnite map. And not to mention, the way they revealed it during downtime was awesome. Slowly revealing the map from the top down, blurring it out, and then unblurring it. Perfect. Amazing. That's a great way to get everybody involved and hyped. I mean, 1 to 2 weeks into the season, we literally got Tilted Towers. Tilted returned for the first time since Chapter 1, Season 8. That is incredible. Like, that's crazy. It didn't come back once in its entirety in Chapter 2. So when it came back in Chapter 3, I mean, oh my god, that was so hype. Everyone was freaking out. And then a week later, we get Klombo, one of the most unique gameplay things they've ever added in the history of Fortnite. A giant animal walking around. We haven't had anything like that since. Throw the weather dynamics in there as well. They literally added weather. And, I mean, come on. That's just some of the reasons why that season and that start to the chapter is probably the best ever. I mean, all of that stuff right away. Plus the loot pool. Amazing. POIs, I already said. Amazing. Perfect blend, right? The size of the map. Perfect. The biomes, they're all there. Everything about that season, Chapter 3, Season 1, was perfect. It was peak Fortnite. I should actually mention, by the way, when I'm saying Chapter 3 is peak Fortnite, I'm mainly talking about Chapter 3, Season 1. That's like 70 to like 80% of the reason why Chapter 3 was peak. Because of Season 1 alone. And how could I forget the storyline? We were in the peak of the storyline. We had big cutscenes. We had literal POIs named after the 7 and the imagined order when Season 2 rolled around. We had crazy big events. The challenges were actually like immersive and worth your time and interesting to actually pay attention to. The storyline was booming. It was actually perfect. Literally perfect. It wasn't until Chapter 3 Season 3 when it started to go downhill, because that is one of the last it was actually the last season that Donald Mustard worked on. So if you couldn't tell that the storyline died after Season 3, that's why. Because Donald Mustard left, and it has not been the same since. I won't lie, Chapter 5 kinda brought it back, towards the end in Season 3 and 4. Now we're sort of getting back there, right? This is being recorded before the Kraken live event. So it's kind of on its way back up, because we're getting OG live events, and that looks like that storyline might converge with Chapter 6. But nothing compares to the OG storyline. Nothing. But yeah, it peaked in Chapter 3, which is why Chapter 3 is just that much better in my opinion. Now, if you ask me about my chapter ranking all the chapters in Fortnite, it's 1, 2, and 3. I don't think Chapter 3 was the best Fortnite chapter of all time, but I do think that Chapter 3, Season 1, and Season 2 were peak Fortnite. I think they perfected literally everything. Everything, down to the last minute detail. The loot pool, perfect. The storyline, perfect. The POIs, perfect. Not too crazy, not too confusing. The map, perfect. Perfect in size, everything. Mobility, perfect. Vehicles, perfect. everything. Everything that they did at the start of Chapter 3 was absolutely perfection. And honestly, I don't see them going back to that ever again. They've made their decision to stay on the more like realistic side, which sucks because they kind of implemented that in Chapter 4 with like the giant cliffs and the big crazy graphics, right? And it has been the same since. They continued that in Chapter 5, made it completely terrible. Map looked gray, lifeless. Chapter 5 can be forgotten, for all I care. Chapter 6, it still has somewhat continued. We haven't seen like the simple, cartoonish side of Fortnite since Chapter 3. That's why it was so perfect, because it still had all those qualities while also mixing in some modern stuff. They did everything right until Season 3 and 4 rolled around. We can forget about those. But Chapter 3, Season 1, and Season 2 are huge reasons why I love Chapter 3 so much. When I think of Chapter 3, I think of those 2 seasons. I don't think of the other 2. Those 2 seasons were so incredible, they were so perfect, and they were so peak Fortnite that it does bump Chapter 3 above 4 or 5, and honestly, so far 6. So, in my opinion, Chapter 3, Season 1, and Season 2 were absolute peak Fortnite. They had everything perfected. If it stayed like that, I'd be happy. That is one of the times where I had the most fun playing the game. I think Chapter 3 Season 1 was one of my most played seasons of all time. It was incredible. Everything about it was perfect. The vibes. And it's not like it's like insanely nostalgic. Like it is, yes, it is nostalgic. Like it's very memorable. But it's not like it was like 7 years ago like Season 2 and 3. That was only 4 years ago. I was not little at the time. It was just that fun. I could not get off the game. It was incredible. So in my opinion, Chapter 3 Season 1 and Season 2 are peak Fortnite. Just absolutely peak Fortnite. That's what makes Chapter 3 so much better than 4, 5, and so far 6. Those 2 seasons alone were that good. If you ended Chapter 3 after them, Chapter 3 could have been like a top 1 or 2 season. Literally. Let me know what you guys think. I'm assuming you're most likely going to disagree, but I really do think Chapter 3, Season 1 and 2 were just peak Fortnite. Everything was perfect. So, yeah, let me know if you guys agree, and remember to like and subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one.